yeah, you tested positive for COVID. Just quarantine. I don't like how she handled it. She said, well, just quarantine for 5 days. That'll be Monday. And then you can, you know, you can go back out, you can stop quarantining. And I'm like, okay. And it shocked me when she told me I had COVID, so I didn't have all the questions I should have asked. Like,
because you weren't expecting.
I wasn't expecting it. So like questions like Advil versus Tylenol, or Robitussin, if for like drainage, sinus, what to expect. She didn't cover. She just didn't go over anything like that, like what to expect if I had a headache or anything like that, what type of medicine to take, because I've heard you take Tylenol for COVID, or yeah, like Tylenol was the safe. When COVID first hit, it was like, they was buying out all the Tylenol because that was considered helpful in the COVID treatment. So I didn't know. So when we got off the phone, I called back, and I didn't reach the doctor when I called back. I actually talked to the nurse, and I was like, I asked her a few questions, and she kind of answered, but kind of didn't. So I was like, okay. So, because I'm used to this type of treatment, so I didn't press it. So, okay. I was like, I quarantined till Monday. The only place I'd been was to your office, so I called y'all the next day and told y'all.
I really appreciate that, by the way.
And so I said, you know what, quarantine till Monday. I'm actually going to quarantine till Tuesday. Give it an extra day. And I wiped down all the stuff in my house. I, let my family know I had COVID. They bought me some things up that I needed, and so then I looked up. They told me to go on the CDC website, which I did. And that's kind of general. That don't really help you. It's general. It's like I clicked on the links and I really didn't gain any knowledge or any true understanding. Like, it's general, which can speak to you or not speak to you in a way to where you understand it. Like, and it really didn't make a lot of sense to me because I'm not a doctor, and then so I called them back a couple days later. I think it was probably maybe after I quarantined for like 4 days, and I was like, well, on the 5th day, can I come back and you check to make sure I don't have COVID no more? Because I talked to the counseling center, CBH, and they said I got to be cleared before I could come in the building. So I called, after I found that out, I called over to MD Express and told them that. They were like, well, yes, you could come over. You just have to, we just go through it again.
You'll give you another test. Yeah.
And I went over there and she like checked me out, like the normal things they do. And they didn't even give me a second test. She was like, it can show up in your system for up to 3 months, and you just contagious for like the first 5 or 6 days. And that's when you want to quarantine. And then after the 5th day, you want to quarantine, to continue to quarantine. But if you have to go somewhere, which you can after the 5th day, use a KN95 mask.
Right.
And that's what she told me. And I said, okay, so that's what I did. But, no matter what doctor I go to, they mishandle everything. Like the doctor over at Terrell in Newtown, he told me my blood sugar was 200 on a fast. I was waking up in the morning.
That's pretty high. Yeah.
And he told me that my meter was broke. And I was like, it's not broke. And I was like, well, you want to test it? I was like, I have it. I fast this morning. He was like, no, I don't want to test it. We don't have a meter. Which I felt like he was lying to me. And, and he told me, I'm not going to prescribe you diabetes medicine anymore. If you don't like it, go to another doctor. And sat there with his arm crows, and like his disposition was way off. And this was the first time I met the guy, because my previous doctor moved to Northern Virginia to work up there. So they assigned me him. So I filed a complaint with the medical board. They did nothing, but from my sugar to my thyroid to any type of health issue I'm having, it's like the treatment they give me is half
You feel like you're just not
they're not
getting
listening. They're not giving me the
the
treatment I
care
deserve. And
that you need.
I don't. And back to the medicine more. You know, I don't care about the protocols. You can't let somebody be in harm's way and commit criminal negligence and malpractice because of protocols. Regardless of any situation, if you in a bank and is being held hostage, someone have a heart attack, you got to treat that person. You got to work out, negotiate to where that person lives. And it's like with me, they don't care about that, and I'm a little tired of that. My needs are not being met. I've been having a thyroid issue for over 2 years, just about going on about 2 years. And this is right here in Williamsburg, and which leads me to what I'm about to say. Like, I got nothing to do with this medicine and what's going on. But people from my hometown, pillars of my community, my baseball coaches, they do, and out of respect for my community in Lancaster, I feel like people here are obligated to want to resolve this in a peaceful manner, to want to resolve this and meet all my needs to make sure I'm happy and healthy. So when I see people that tell me all the time they fighting for me, but at the same time they commit malpractice and neglecting my health, it makes it hard to believe that you have my best interests. And to tell you how this situation started, this is how this situation started. In 2006, I said actually it started in 2005, I want to say. I'm not as sure.
It's hard to pinpoint the exact date, it sounds
because I wasn't involved in any of it, so it wasn't something where I was mapping it out and tracking it. It started with Cameron, and Cameron came out with a song. First, it started, hold on. It started in DC at Howard Homecoming. Cameron got shot there, and allegedly Jay-Z did it for whatever reason. Cameron come out with a song after he got shot at Howard in DC, talking about all my people coming from minimum wages. Then he said you're riding us, meaning like we influence you, and then you're trying to play us, meaning you're talking about us. And to sum that up, basically, and I'm not gonna, because you don't really listen to hip hop, I'm sure, so I'm not gonna rap it
not
to
enough.
you, in that lingo, in the language they talking. But basically, I had just started this job in Richmond, which was Triple E Utilities. So when he was saying all my people are coming from minimum wages, he was referring to my job in Richmond, Triple E. When he said you're copying our style, and that's the mild way of putting it, he's referring to how I used to dress, because I used to wear like throwbacks jerseys and things like that, and like it was more, I was influenced by like him, and I didn't know him, still don't, but I was influenced by hip hop. And then I said that I didn't think that they could rap that good, and that's where the trying to play us come from. And then he also said they're trying to spray us, meaning that's street lingo for shoot you, meaning that people wanted to shoot me. And I don't know any of these people. And that's what got my family involved. That's what got the community involved. Like it started way before medicine where weird things started happening. And I was asking people, I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? The reality is somebody went to my family and threatened my family and threatened my life. And that's what started all of this.
So has somebody in your family said that to you?
In the way that they communicate, yes. I would say, it's hard to pinpoint it because no one's in my family said I'm getting my mind read. Like if I was to ask you or anybody, if I was to ask the doctor that prescribed it, am I getting my mind read? He would say no, as he have. So the indirect communication doesn't hold up in court. And that's the thing. That's why it's done that way. I feel like people don't have to indirectly communicate with me because they can say anything they want, do anything they want. They have. But the indirect communication, you really can't, it's plausible deniability. You could say something like, I get a death threat, and I can say, well, are you threatening me? They can be like, no. But then they clearly are threatening me. And it's something just like, if like when I was at Central State, the guy said he was reading my mind. I ignored it, knowing that they were. But if I asked him, if I said, oh, you read my mind, he's like, no, I was just joking with you. So, and that's the thing about the situation, the plausible deniability, the reasonable doubt. Things are done that can't be proved beyond a reasonable doubt.
There are all sorts of things that you're perceiving, and
the thing with that,
it doesn't track with what people are saying, and
it
so you
tracks,
don't trust with what people say or not.
It tracks with, how can I say, it tracks with the urban community. Like, they know what time it is, and like people always tell me be safe. Like, people know what's going on here, but they're not going to speak about it because of the parties involved. It's like unwritten rules, street codes, and people are not really speaking on things because of the type of people involved. So people know what's going on, and it don't matter if you're black or white. Like, everybody know, people got different ways of accepting situations and circumstances. Like with black people, you take a more urban approach, like don't snitch, stick to the G code. With, Caucasian people, it's more like patriotic, that type of approach, like a political approach. Oh, it's bigger than you, it's patriotic, be a patriot. Or they flip it and play the blame game and lie like most politicians do and say, oh, you're a criminal, you're a thug, and so it's different strokes for different folks. And like I think I explained it to you with the whole Wolf Blitz and DJ Khaled, when DJ Khaled was like, oh, people owe me favors, people owe me favors. And I'm like, oh, so people owe me favors? That's what he was saying on BET 106 Park. And then I changed the channel right after he said that and went to Wolf Blitz on CNN. And he was like, oh, what are you talking about? No one owe you favors. So you got the urban approach where it's kind of rumors and gossip. And then you got the political approach where they just lie about everything and you can't really pin them down to make them be honest. Like, if you was to be forward with a politician, they specialize in not being forward. They don't back themselves in the corner. Like Bill Clinton said, he smoked marijuana, but he didn't inhale.
Yeah, right. I didn't have sex with that woman.
Yeah, and things like that are accepted amongst that community. It's like, I feel like, no disrespect, but I feel like with like Caucasian people, I think they know what's going on. I feel like they don't want to address it in a way to where we address things. Like, when a black person is straight up and forward, that can easily get said, you're ignorant, where a white person would view that's politically incorrect. And I feel like at times it's good to be politically correct. And then there's times where you just got to be honest. And I feel like more often than not, black folks are politically incorrect, but they being honest and truthful, where white folks are more politically correct, but deceitful. I think you need a happy balance of both. Sometimes situations call for blunt honesty. And then sometimes, for the bigger picture, you say, okay, let's let it pass. And white folks are good at that. But then
sometimes.
at the same time, and that's a compliment. At the same time, it can easily happen too often to where, it's like, I see it, but I'm not saying nothing.
Yeah.
And, so you got to find a happy balance, strengths, both races have their strengths and their weaknesses. And I feel like so often, You like it,
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, what was I saying? It started with Cameron getting shot and Jay-Z coming out with a song with Beyonce talking about I don't make the list, don't be mad at me, I just make the hits like a factory. And then he also said Popo try to convict him. That's a no-go. My dough keep the scales tipping like foes. And he's referring to my tattoos. Because I got tattoos, all for one for all. And there's nothing gang about it. It's just something I saw and I got. Because I never did
Because
it
you liked
again.
it.
I liked it. And he's referring to the two fours in that.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually have it on my arms. And he said, um, I, you know, Popo tried to convict him. That's a no go. My dough keep the scales tipping like foes. And then he spelled out Houston, referring to the president who was from Texas at the time, George Bush. So you know, that's what started this. My family in Legacy County wasn't trying to use me as something for whatever they describing why my family went along with this. My family didn't go along with this. My family, like before medicine touched my body, my mother came, he hugged me while I was sitting on the couch and started crying on my shoulders. But she wouldn't tell me why she was crying, and one of my friends was like, such and such got caught up, and he used another person, but I think he was describing me, saying, such and such got caught up in some mess, and so I'm all over the place, but to I'm gonna break it up. I've been all over the place, so I'm gonna break it up because I know we probably only got about 25 minutes. So next week
you got 35 minutes.
35. So to have a more consistent and intelligent conversation with you about things. I'm gonna talk about the rappers today.
Okay.
And next we gotta talk about people in Virginia. And each party, like if they say it's two sides, I got something I like to say about both sides. Because it's with the rappers, you know, basically Cameron came up with that song, and I don't know when exactly that song came out in the 2005. Because I think the homecoming, when are college homecomings usually?
Usually in the fall.
Yeah,
the homecoming's in the fall, and then
that's what I was thinking. So I think he got shot in 2005, but I didn't start working for Triple E till like I want to say February of 2006 or March, something like that. But anyway, Cameron made that song, and that's when all this weird stuff started happening in my community. And basically, I'm being told that it's my father, rappers, and people in New York against my baseball coaches and people in Virginia. And I don't, I'm not involved in anything like that. I'm not involved in anything like that. So my real father, I really don't know him. I've seen him probably 4 to 5 times in my entire life. I haven't played baseball since I was 11 years old. So my baseball coaches, I didn't have much of a relationship with them after baseball. When I worked for UPS, I would drop packages off to some of their businesses, but other than that, it wasn't much conversation outside of, hey, I got a package for you. Then I go about my business.
Right.
So the thing with the rappers, like, and then there was a girl I used to talk to from Poland at one of my jobs, and she moved back to Poland. She was on a working visa, and she left money with me, and they said it was because of her money. That's that's why people wanted to harm me. Then they said it was because of me talking about some street stuff that I had no business talking about, why they wanted to harm me, like, and to explain that more, Jermaine Dupri came out with a song talking about, the money she left me was for a laptop. He said, effing with a laptop, I make them do it. And I talked to her since I've been on this medicine and before, and she said, don't even worry about the money, and then, another reason why I was told I was,
And I just want to be clear, when you say when you were told, you've gotten this information through songs and
yeah,
references and media
yeah,
and stuff like that, that's how they're telling you.
yeah, and like with the and the funny thing about that, when she had ordered some stuff from eBay and she used my debit card, and it was like $130, and I didn't even ask her for the money. I actually paid for it myself because I didn't have the money in the bank, so I told her not to order it, and she ordered it anyway. And so it was a thing where both of us had gave each other money. It was we was good about that. It wasn't no problem there.
Right.
And I feel like the rappers and everybody made all this stuff up. Like, they was monitoring me throughout that whole time. The government was, so they kind of made this narrative up that, oh, it was about her. And then I heard this story about New York where they put rappers' logo on bricks of cocaine, and the sales of some of the cocaine goes to the rapper who just got signed to the major record label. And I heard that story by someone who was actually in New York and told me about it. But he was from my neck of the woods. And so they come out with songs talking about, well, Jeezy said, no punchlines, no riddles. I'm talking white squares with the stamps in the middle. You know me, take the good with the bad. That's what he's referring to, what someone had told me, And when he said good with the bad, that's saying that, something is going to happen. And I took it as good with the bad. The record deal, me getting the record deal was the good. The bad was I was going to have to be in this situation that I'm in now, on this medicine, for whatever reason. And, and then rappers talk about, that also got songs talking about come meet the men stamping them. I don't, when you start talking drugs other than pot, I don't associate myself with that. I've never done cocaine. I've never sold cocaine, because for one, I don't like what it do to people that do those drugs. I actually was talking to a girl who I heard was actually doing that. And I used to try to tell her, you shouldn't do that. And that's partly the reason why me and her stopped talking.
Is because you saw how harmful it was to her, and she was like, don't tell me what to do.
So when you start talking stuff like that, like drugs, like, I think it's disgusting because people on hard drugs like that to do anything, and I actually think it's disgusting, and I wouldn't sell it because, when you sell that stuff, the prison time they give you for that is ridiculous. And
right.
You don't have to be violent. They'll give you 20 years for a nonviolent possession of cocaine, and I'm not the type of person that want to be in jail for 20 years for selling cocaine. I've never sold cocaine. Now I sold pot for 2 years, and the whole time I did that, I was working 2 jobs. So that's part of my past. But when you start talking harsh drugs, and let's be honest, pot is legal in most places now. So when you start talking harsh drugs, I don't want no part of that, And going back to my situation, I don't think that this situation is about drugs. I think if rappers are doing anything illicit, it's a quid pro quo, and for their participation in undermining me and manipulating me, I'm sorry about that. I should turn that here.
You're fine.
For their participation in undermining me and getting the people on their side, then the government is turning a blind eye to anything they're doing illicit. Like, and part of the reason why I don't think this medicine is about drugs, because I've been sticking to the story from the beginning, that this is not terrorist medicine. This is U.S. medicine.
Mm.
You know, so that don't make sense for U.S. to put me on their own medicine so they could do illicit drugs, because you look at drugs like cocaine, that's Colombia and come up through Mexico, you know, and like heroin, that's Afghanistan. Majority of heroin come from the Middle East. You know, like,
I didn't know that.
yes, yes, and I know that from looking at documentaries on it, not from actually knowing someone that
Right,
sold
right,
it.
right, 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 right.
You know,
From learning about it.
yeah, I looked at documentaries on it. Like, I think they said like over 70 to 80% of heroin come from Afghanistan. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and the Taliban, they actually just banned it, and that's why they have so many addicts over there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I have a firm belief that this is U.S. medicine. I don't think terrorists got the resources to make a medicine that probably easily costs $10 billion to make, and it works off a satellite. You know, so I think can you fathom, like, if someone was to say Terrell was on terrorist medicine, some Middle Eastern terrorists, would that make sense to you that they would spend $10 billion roughly, put a satellite in the sky just to get a medicine to someone that they can't bargain with? You know, if they gave it to a politician child, that's a better bargaining chip than Terrell Taylor. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, like, none of this makes any sense to me, really. You know,
so
but especially the whole terrorist aspect. You know, that's something that I know that you've never believed, and you know,
it doesn't make sense.
I've often wondered, why that keeps coming up.
And
because the person, even the person that you said told you that. You know, there's every reason to doubt that.
Yeah, I do, but when I've been on a medicine for 16 years and my health deteriorated and the effects it had on the community, to say that the American government is choosing to do this is unacceptable. You know, if and that's from that vantage point, to say that the American government is choosing to do this, what they've been doing the last 16 years, everybody would turn against the government to say, because this didn't affected so many people, you know, in a negative way, and to say, oh, we can stop this anytime we want, that would be devastating to people. Well, that's a poor choice of word. It would be like, it's crazy, you know, like, it's a PR nightmare, basically, you know, to say. And then I heard and this is another thing that's been expressed, that they're holding me under the Patriot Act. And, you know, so.
And that's been expressed by
the dude Hassan that got the Patriot Act on TV. Because you look at everything on TV.
Oh, gotcha.
You look at everything
Hassan
on TV.
Minaj.
Yeah, you look at everything on TV, you know, it's relative to my situation. You look at the Patriot Act. You look at, what else? Blacklist. You ever seen Blacklisted? With
I
think it's called Blacklisted.
Like, I've heard of it. I don't think I've seen that.
It's a show that came on NBC, and it's a dude that called Raymond something. I forgot who plays him, but
I've heard of it. I haven't seen that.
Well,
Patriot Act, my kids used
that?
to watch. So anyway,
you know what inspired that show? Me calling the FBI when I lived in Gloucester.
You think?
I know, because when I started calling the FBI, they came with that show. And the first episode was this fugitive wanted man turning himself in to the FBI. And the whole premise of the show surrounded the FBI, Elizabeth Kane. So that's what inspired this show, you know. And so it's a guessing game. Like I say, you can't prove things beyond a reasonable doubt. So you never can really pinpoint to what the problem actually is, because the problem change day to day. Like, they also got a movie called Thank You for Your Service, as if I was in the military. And basically the government will say I'm whatever they need me to be at any given time to get what they want. And see that right there, I'm tired of. One minute, this terrorist got you on the medicine. Next minute, you're on it because you committed a terrorist crime, meaning I committed a terrorist crime, but I didn't. Then it's because you're a criminal. It's so many different reasons why they always saying that
you're hearing all these different messages that are mixed.
And see,
and that's confusing.
The problem I have with that is that the government is controlled chaos. And that's a problem to me. It's controlled chaos because, I'm 37 years old. If I was like mentally retarded or, had severe mental issues where I didn't understand my surroundings or what was going on around me, and I had a power of attorney, then people can understand it. But a fully competent person that's only being driven to incompetency by the things you're doing to him, and if you was to sit down and have a conversation with him and stop leaving him to think and guess and play mind and try to figure out the mind game you're playing, then, that'll be treat me with dignity and respect, I feel, because you can't say that someone respect you if they put you in a situation and keep you in it for 16 years and don't give you an explanation to why you're in the situation you're in. And when you ask, they lie to you or they blame you for stuff you didn't do. They lie on you to get the people to turn against you. That's been going on long enough, and, with these rappers. And it's to the point where even the songs that I was listening to, the music videos that I used to look at when I was first put on this medicine, any video you look it, like when you got YouTube, you got people that post videos of like old songs from like 2006. Even the videos has been edited to where they block out some of the things that they used to say to me. Like when Jermaine Dupri said, effing with a laptop, I make them do it. I can't find that song anymore or that video with him saying that anymore. When Young Jeezy say, what do you say? Stack of $20 bills, I almost caught a case. And he said that on Top Back remix with T.I. Well, that's been edited to where he don't say stack of $20 bills, referring to what he previously said in 2005 when he said, listen up, Jeezy got a little riddle, stack of $20 bills, 2 bands in the middle. Well, when he first came out with that in 2005, I didn't know he was talking about me. Fast forward 2006, when I'm on this medicine, I trace it back to the riddle and all the stuff he was putting in that song, and that album was about me. And he responded by telling me stack of $20 bills. After I'm on the medicine, he's come out with a song with T.I. talking about stack of $20 bills. I almost caught a case. That's been edited out to where he say that. So, it's crazy that the music industry and the government, it got a partnership because I can turn around and go to an event. I could turn around and look at a show where Young Jeezy, T.I., Cameron, you name it, is on that show, and they got an earpiece in their ear. So my thing with that is how the people that are actually guilty of the crime and the people you should be investigating for illicit things and criminal activity, and you're not doing that, you're giving them earpieces to talk to me, and you're blaming me for stuff that I didn't do, never done, and as if I have a something to do with what's going on. It's corruption, and that's a problem, that the corruption is so obvious and right in front everybody's face, and they said organized crime is involved in this situation. I've never met a mobster, and I think those are the ones that are extorting my family on behalf of George Bush. I think mobsters are extorting my family on behalf of George Bush. And then at the same time, they're trying to act like they're the ones that's keeping me alive. And
the mobsters? Or,
yeah.
Okay.
They're political ties to whoever is what's keeping me alive. And I don't believe that. I feel like that they ain't risking anything right now. And that regardless of if I say this or not, it's not going to fall back on them or anybody. It's just, the situation is just plagued by corruption. And even Jay-Z, like how I said, a lot of stuff on TV is inspired by me, like that song, that show Whose Line Is It Anyway? Well, Jay-Z in 2003 come out with a song, and he said, he used a line about Michael Jordan retiring, coming back with the 4 5s and changing his jersey number, and kind of like metaphorically used a gun in a jersey number. And I actually did that when I was like 16 or 17 years old, made that same line. And Jay-Z come out in 2003 when I was 18 and used that line. And when I first heard it, I was like, oh, that's similar to the line I made, unsuspecting that rappers was and the government was monitoring me ever since I was 18 years old. And you know, and he also say such as he used a derogatory word in 2003 on that same song. And he said, "Take one for your team," and I think he was referring to me. And this was 2003. I'm 18 years old. I had no STD scare at 18. My ex was still, me and my ex was still together. I didn't know the girl overseas from Poland. Like, they had planned on doing this to me before any of my past ever came about, from the breakup with my ex to the STD scare to the girl overseas. They had already planned on doing this to me before those things ever even came into the picture. And he actually come out on that same album talking about, if you're having girl problems, I feel bad for you, son. And I was like, when I first heard that album, I was like, is this stuff about me? And I'm like, nah,
There are 6 million people with girl problems right now in this country. I'm not the only one.
And I was like, nah, that ain't about me. So I kind of left it alone. But when I got arrested, a correctional officer told me that it started before T.I. with his King album. And the only person I could think of that he was referring to was Jay-Z 2003 album. He was like, it started before that. Because I was thinking everything started with T.I. And then he was like, no, it started before that. T.I. and Young Jeezy, he was like, no, it started before that. And he's referring to Jay-Z album. And it doesn't help Jay-Z when Jay-Z said, I'm guilty of it too, but not like them. And Jay-Z came out with the Black album in 2003, and that was his retirement album. And he didn't come out with another album until I was already on the medicine. So when he said, I'm guilty of it too, but not like them, what can he base it on as far as musically if he didn't have any more music in between the time of the Black album and to me being on the medicine? And that's what he said. I'm guilty of it too, but not, in a song called Lost Ones, he says, I'm guilty of it too, but not like them. And like in summertime, it's time, like I told you like before, the government is so, what's the word I'm looking for? They're so firm on their position, to where it's been times where I'm like, am I getting my mind read? Because, and I know I am, but my competency, has been subject to questioning, because going through all of this, I try to hold on and be sane and not be weird, but 16 years of this, and it's beyond bizarre, and it's crazy, like, and you know and the thing about it, the rappers, you can't prove any of this behind reasonable doubt. Whether you can hit them with a RICO charge or conspiracy, But the government's not going to hit these rappers with conspiracy because these rappers at the end of the day are working for them, you know. But they blame me for this. They blame my family. Me and my family in Langston County, we got nothing to do with this. When Cameron came out with that song talking about they trying to spray us, which meaning they're trying to shoot us. They had already shot him and now they looking to shoot me. And that's why my mother come to me, hugging me, crying before medicine touched my body, while my friends started doing the things they were doing.
So that's what you're thinking.
That's what sparked it all. You know what and basically to say this is what I think. I think rappers and people from my hometown was insiders, had inside knowledge and information, and they are partners. And I think that this medicine go to the top of government, and I think they're just being loyal to the cult, and they blame me, or not they blame, they frame me to be put on this medicine to be some kind of distraction for climate change issues. And to talk a little bit more about that, when Young Jeezy said, look up to the sky and tell me what you see, the clouds. No, not me. I'm an opportunist. See, I'm an opportunist. You heard what I said. I'm an opportunist. So I think that climate change is, I think scientists knew climate change was going to be a thing. And they wanted to distract the people and kind of, at the same time, control the people through like mild martial law tactics. And this kind of sounds like a conspiracy, but that's what I think. And I think all the celebrities are on board with it because they think they in the know, or they, you know, have inside knowledge. But what I find crazy about it, you know, they say they're trying to save the world. And that's what Steve Colbert said last week on his show. They're trying to save the world. But I think it's crazy that even, let's say that's the case, in which I don't believe it, they still make time to be racist. You know, and I find that crazy. Like, you couldn't, you know, and I'm not saying give somebody other than a black person this medicine, but from the looks of it, they gave a black person this medicine and said, we gonna empower black people. We're gonna give them equality now. We ain't gave it to them, you know, at all before. But because we doing this to Terrell, let's give black people equality now. You know, that's when they say, okay, let's give a black president, or biracial president that's half black. You know, let's support black movie directors. Let's support black musicians. They even went on VH1 and did hip hop honors. And I feel like black people or black elite are eating up this newfound equality that they're getting. And it's all been at my expense and at the expense of everyday black people. But because people that's been mostly affected by this medicine has been the black community from my town. It is very rare for this for this situation to affect someone of the white community back from my town. And it's not a racist thing when you look at my community, but if you put a white person on this medicine who mainly hung around white people, families white, friends are white, it would affect that community. You know, so it's when you look at it like that, it's not like I'm saying, you know, it only affected, they being racist by how this affected black community. I think by default, because of
you're black, yeah,
that it affects black people more than white people.
Right.
You know, so that's kind of how much time we got?
We got
7 minutes. Okay, so that's kind of how I feel about this, and I'm upset about it because, you know, and at the same time, I think black, you always want equality. It shouldn't be something you have to fight for. But with that being said, I feel like black equality is being fast tracked, and it's upsetting the balance of society, and that's why you have Trump supporters. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
because they're seeing all this stuff that's being fast tracked, and we're not there yet, to be honest. And Trump saw a void that needed to be filled because the same people that are fast tracking black equality are the same people that said, you know, white people ain't gonna like this. We're gonna fill a void. Let's put Trump in office and he say a bunch of racist things and give them a voice now. So I
Mm-hmm.
feel like they really Trump and Obama have the same master, just like Trump and Biden got the same master. And then, so I feel like with all this stuff going on, it's just mass manipulation, and I just, whatever that is, whatever's going on, I don't want no parts of it, and I'm thinking about myself and my family from here on out. I'm not thinking about no rapper. I'm not thinking about no old baseball coach in my community, because if both sides sat back and let me endure what I done endured for the last 16 years, along with what my family's been through for the last 16 years, and they still at times retaliate against me, slander me, and allow me, and this is both sides, then both of them can go to hell and take me off the medicine and fight each other and keep me out of it, because I'm not going to be somebody pawn and try to and be somebody pawn and put in a position to where they want me to pick a side, because from where I'm standing, ain't near one of y'all having my best interests or had my best
Mm-hmm.
interests. When I'm standing, I feel like both of y'all are just taking from me to try to pin the other one down. But I really don't believe that, because when you really track it back, you realize that they got the same master too. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that's how I feel. I feel like, it's a situation where it's divide and conquer, and you really don't know, and people are confused about what reality is, and it's crazy, and I'm to the point where, this situation needs to stop for the health of for myself, for my health, and for my mother's health, because my mother was the only one that had my back. When these people tried to say I stole gas and I didn't, my mother made me go in the house and she went down there and paid for the gas that I had already paid for. My father,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know him, so I would expect him to do some dumb shit like this. But my mother, she would, and
Yeah, I hear how concerned you are about your mom.
this really need to stop. It's been going on for too long, and it just need to stop. And all you hear is, "Oh, this is just the beginning." Like they take every day, they take lingo to the that they use to torture me with. Like this is just the beginning. This gonna go on for a long time. They take everyday sayings and lingo that they use to torture me with and turn it into the norm, and turn it into the norm of what people say, you know, like it's a fad or a trend, like swagger, words like swagger. Like before 2006, nobody heard the word swagger. And that's just me making an example. But
Mm-hmm.
like, loyalty, that wasn't something that people from you got 8 year olds talking about loyalty. You know, it's turned into something where, because they want me to be loyal, to where they make words turn in terms a trend, and like the word loyalty, and Illuminati. Tupac was talking about the Illuminati in the 90s. Nobody's saying nothing about the Illuminati. Fast forward to now, you got everybody know who the Illuminati is if they are real. Everybody knows. And half of Tupac listeners probably didn't know. And Tupac at that time, he was alive. He was one of the top rappers. And like I said a long time ago, I was like, the reason why people talk about the Illuminati is because the Illuminati want people talking about the Illuminati. You know, and that's kind of how I feel about that. I feel like it's a thing where, you know, it's like you go left or you go right and I go left. It's kind of like when you think you got an understanding of something, the game changes. And what you were so focused on, really not that important no more. That's why it revealed itself. And I kind of feel like that's what these black elites gonna learn the hard way. The only reason they getting equality because it's getting to the point where things are changing to where it ain't gonna matter, and it's gonna be equality for black. It's gonna be obsolete, and it's not gonna matter